But shall I tonight, since it is now summertime, full and complete, and the feeling is there, it's genuine summer now, shall I tell the story which I once told on the air, and a lot of people have written again about it. They want me to tell it again because it is probably the best example of summer madness I have ever known, was the Great Ice Cream War. Do you want to hear that again, or do you? Do you recall that? Well, it swept the Midwest in the late 1930s and will go down, I suspect, in history eventually, the way the Whiskey Rebellion went down. Various madnesses. Do you know that various madnesses over the centuries have hit various cities in Europe in the summertime? Did you ever hear about the waltz madness that swept Vienna and Austria in the late 1800s? Oh, yeah. Well, the Ice Cream War that swept the Midwestern states in the late 1930s was a true madness, a genuine madness. Now, have you ever seen a gasoline price war? You ever have those? You don't. See, you're looking at me blankly because you don't have those things in Jamaica. Well, in the right across the river, just a few years ago, there was a gasoline price war. Now, what happened was, all of a sudden, in the middle of the summer, all the gas station owners started to fight one another by cutting the price of gasoline, which, in its own turn, made the madness spread through the brains of the drivers. And before nightfall, on the day of the Great Gasoline War over in Jersey, there were millions of drivers doing nothing but buying gasoline, which they couldn't use. They bought gasoline till it squirted out of their ears. They were selling it like 8 cents a gallon. Yeah. Really, this is just within recent times. Well, let me tell you about the Great Ice Cream War that hit the Midwest in the 30s. I don't know whether it ever happened out here in the East, but it was on a night just about like this, and it was round about the 4th of July. In the Midwest, around about this time of the year, most of the days are like twice as hot as they are here. They're also about twice as humid because of the way the neighboring ground is, the way the geography works out there, the geology, it's all hot and it's steamy. Well, they hadn't discovered yet in those days DDT, so they had mosquitoes. When people got the itch, they really did get the itch. People would go out and get the itch, and they would walk around the streets in the Midwest. There's a great deal of walking that's done out there, sitting on porches and looking. That's something that isn't done as much here in the East. They don't even build porches on houses here. But people would sit on porches and look at other people across the street. And it would be kind of twilight all the time. And you could see hanging in the middle distance between one house and the other, you would see millions and millions of fireflies. The firefly is not seen much around here, is it? Well, out in the Midwest, the firefly is about as plentiful as the cockroach is here. Fireflies would just cover the whole town. You could just see all millions of little lights going off and on, just billions of them, all as far as the eye could see. And you would run on a bicycle, and they would catch in your hair, these little tiny things that look like little undergrown bees. They look like little stunted bees with a little lantern hanging on the back, and they'd light up. We used to catch thousands of them and put them in bottles, and you'd have a whole bottle of bees, little fireflies that would be lighting up, and you would hang on the front of your bike, and that's considered a light. You have a big thing. And about this time of the year, the bats would come out. And there would be thousands of bats flying around the street lights, which were hung much higher than the street lights around here. Real high street lights hanging down. And the bats would be flittering around there. And around each light, there would be a cloud such as you could hardly see the light, a cloud of millers and moths, mosquitoes, gnats, billions of bugs, just thousands and thousands of species and great hordes of them around each light. And each light, as you would look down the street, would look like you were seeing it through rain. You know how when you look at a light through rain and it seems to spread out like a star around it? Well, that's the way the lights would look with the bugs around them. And you could hear the bugs in the air, just a steady hum. And people would sit on the porches and swat. and just sit there, and they look across the darkness to the other people sitting on the other porch, just swatting, and they're all waiting for it to happen, whatever it was, the war which was coming, and nobody knew really, but it was coming. All of it was in the air, and so there was a terrific itch, just as there is today. I think people are like animals in one very important respect. They have a sixth sense that warns them that something wild is about to occur on a global scale. You agree with me, Eddie? And they never know it, they never put it into print, but they start living insanely. They do everything right to the hilt. Believe me, before every war in history, there has been a great wave of fist fighting, yelling, people running around the streets. Oh, yes, all over the world. Yeah, they feel it. It's in the air. Well, this is the way it was in the late 1930s. I'm this kid, you see, living around with a bicycle painted apple green, and you could see the bugs and the stuff swimming around and yelling, and you could hear the sound of the crowd out at Wrigley Field, and you could hear them yelling and booing out at Comiskey Park at nights. And Zeke Benura was caught one time dancing the Big Apple when he was supposed to be resting because he'd pulled a muscle. And Jimmy Dykes caught Zeke down there leading the Big Apple line at the Sherman Hotel, ran right out there and says, "Benura, you're playing first tomorrow, and it's costing you $500. Right in the middle of the dance. Nobody knew it was Benura. And then Benura turned to Dykes and said, "What are you doing here? You're breaking training." Dykes was the manager. Well, that was among the great repartee of the period. So you can see that the thinking was deep in those days. Well, it was on a night just about like this that the very beginnings. I think that usually what happens is that people have practice wars. They have like dry runs before the real thing happens. It's like play wars. They'll have play wars. Little things like demonstrations are play wars. Really are. They're practice wars for the big thing that'll come. Well, it was just that kind of night. Everybody is all excited, and my old man comes home. He comes home in the Graham Page, and he hollers because he's always wherever there was anything going that was exciting. The old man was there. He comes home and he says, "We got to go downtown." My mother says, "What's up?" He says, "They're selling ice cream cheap at the Igloo." Well, selling ice cream cheap at the Igloo. Nobody had thought about ice cream at that point. Now, I must explain to you what the Igloo was. There were two places directly across the street from one another in the middle of this town, which for the purposes of argument we'll call Hammond, Indiana. Now, one place was called the Igloo. Now, the Igloo was just a big ice cream joint. They made their own ice cream, with the machines in back. They had a couple of tables and a lot of places where you stood up and you drank these great big malts for 15 cents. They were so thick that you could stick, spoons in them and forks and eat it out with great big things, And that's the kind of place the Igloo was. Now, there was a place across the street that opened up that was a little more shishi. It was Borden's. It was a Borden's place, and they sold something called Lady Isabella ice cream, very chic ice cream. Well, the poor people went to Igloo, and the rich people went to Borden's. And they were both across the street, and there was a kind of, it's just like in all wars, there was a kind of uneasy ideological cold peace that existed between them. The expensive stuff was on one side, the cheap stuff was on the other. And nobody said anything, but they'd look across the street to each other. You could just see it. And they were big joints. And all the cars would pull up in front of Borden's, and these nice ladies would get out, and they'd have single-dip ice cream cones. The rich people, buying single-dip ice cream cones. On the other side, a triple-dip ice cream cone was getting started. That was, the poor people want a lot for their dough. 4 or 5 balls of ice cream on top, great big crumbling cones. That's what they wanted. Malts that you could bring out in the bucket, that kind of stuff. See, 12 cents, it said, with cherry, 13 cents. Well, that was the kind of scene it was. Remember, it was hot. It was the 1930s. Hitler was marching, although no one was paying much attention. The bugs were as far as the eye could see, and oh, boy, was it hot. Oh, it was so hot. It was like, always 110 degrees, and people are sitting on their porches looking at each other every night, waiting for it to break out. Nobody knew what it was, but they knew they were waiting. Secretly, they knew they were waiting. And then that night came. The old man comes home and says, "Igloo's is selling ice cream cheap." Well, what had happened was that the Igloo people put a great big sign, like 30 feet high in whitewash, on the front of their building. It said, "Triple dip ice cream cones, 9 cents." It was a sign that yelled. Across the street, Borden's was selling polite little double dip ice cream cones for 12 cents. Well, you know, rich people are funny. They'll go along up to a certain point with their class. I mean the double dip ice cream cone people. But up to a certain point they will go. The next thing you know, they're up to their neck doing worse than you are doing it. Worse than I'm doing it. What happened without no warning at all? And the entire company that was sitting in Borden's rushed across the street to Igloos. Just like that. Just across the street, thousands of them ran. Well, here's this guy in the Borden joint, you know. He sees them all going across the Igloos. All of his old customers are eating the triple dip ice for 9 cents. So he runs out of the store, gets a great big pail of whitewash, an enormous brush, triple dip ice cream cones, 8 cents. Lady Elizabeth ice cream. Well, all of this happens in the space of about 20 minutes, you know. Well, the guy in the Igloo joint, who was a very aggressive guy, looks across the street. He says, "Okay." Everybody runs out. He's got his bucket before they're gone. You know, they're running across the street. By that time, the word is spreading. The war has broke out. You know, the war is starting. All over town they're coming. That's when my old man arrived home. After about the third wave, you know, it's like D plus 3 hours, something like that. He comes down and rushing. We jump in the car. Bruner's hanging on the back. People are running downtown. The word is out. You know, the minute war breaks out, the word is out everywhere. People start opening up canteens. They start putting hats on. They start marching. They don't have to know. So they all came tearing. And I'm sitting in the back seat, very excited. It's the first war I've ever been to. And my old man is talking to me. He says, "An ice cream war. It's a real ice cream war. You got the buckets? You got the buckets in the back? You got the shovels?" Yeah, he's ready to go. So we get down, and there on the street, you can see thousands of cars. People are lined up for blocks in front of each place. In front of the Igloo, there's a line all the way around. And the place is jammed. They have called out all the available force. All the girls are out, and they've got scoops. They've got the machines going full blast. The Borden place is running trucks, extra trucks from the main office downtown. They're bringing the ice cream. They've got ice, dry ice, the whole. It's like it's like the Berlin War. Right there at that moment. It's like the wall has been put up. On one side is the east and the other side is the west. Borden was pouring everything it had into it, you know, big outfit. It was pouring its heavy artillery. And the guy at the Igloo place knew that he could hang on. He's going to hang in. By the time we got down, there is a big sign in front of the Borden place. It says, "Triple dip ice cream cones, 7 cents. And there is a sign being painted as we're driving up. The crowds are out, the police are there, and the sign is saying, 4 dips, 6 cents. 4 dips. He had 4. Plop, plop, plop. Big glob of paint poured on the 4. 4. Boom! The people are running across the street. Old ladies are falling down. Guys are hitting their heads on the curb. Oh, they're madly screaming, yelling. It was like a wave of insane humanity. Across the street they go to in front of the Igloo place. He's selling cones. They're dishing them out. Kids are screaming and yelling. Guys are turning around who bought them for 7 cents, and they're throwing them in the bushes, coming back to get a 6-cent cone. Really. It's a nuttiness. They come tearing back. Believe me, the street is carpeted with cones, ice cream. You're walking on it. You know, nobody cares anymore. Then suddenly you look across the street. He's got himself a can of red paint. 4 dips, 5 cents. 4, 5, 5 cents. 4. Come on, come on. All across the street. Over they go again. And we haven't even gotten near the ice cream yet. We're still standing in line, you know. Each succeeding wave drags us out into the middle of the street, and you can hear sirens, people yelling. Now he is going again. The Igloo man is making his final bid. Final, he writes. 4 dips, 3 cents. 3 cents, 3. Great big yellow 3. Well, it was, you could just see now, the crowd, the frenzy was upon them. Guys had buckets. Guys were buying them in crates, you know, and nobody is, you know, they're making them as fast as they can make them. The girls are screaming in there, "Get away!" Guys are jumping over the counter, yelling. And the Igloo man now, he's you can see the Igloo man has got that big fat smile. He's got 3 cents, 4 dips. there is one moment of silence. The Borden man has gotten a teletype or something from the main office. There is a strategy meeting. You can just see nothing is happening except people are buying ice cream. There is nobody in the Borden place now. They've just swept across. There is a moment of silence. Everybody's watching. Then out of the door on the side comes the Borden man with the bucket of paint. He paints a big 1 cent. 1 cent. That's all. 1 big penny. 1 cent. Oh, let's go, Bordens. They rush across. Oh, the old man is yelling. He's got a paper hat. Let's go, quick. Grab the kids. Here we go. Let's go. 1 cent, 1 cent. And just at that moment, the word gets out because the man in the igloo joint has just printed a great big F-R-E. Now, boom, off they come screaming and yelling. Over they go, yelling, the waves of people going back and forth over the street. F-R-E-E, 2 free. The Borden man is giving 2 away free now. 2. The igloo man is giving anything you want free. Come on in, take it away, take the place. Ice cream is flowing all the way to Calumet City. Little old ladies are being swept out to sea. Kids are drowning in cones. Old men are running down the street carrying great big boxes of fudgesicles. It's going on and on and on. Well, it was the summer madness. I'll tell you what happened. This all took place about 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. It grew to its period of fullness. The great, fulsome roundness of summer madness was struck a little after midnight. It was around the 4th of July, hot and steamy. People are getting tired. And now people are coming from the other towns. You could see license plates from Ohio. It was spreading all over. I'm telling you, you could see Illinois plates coming into town. Guys from Kentucky, their cars covered with dust. They've traveled 1,000 miles at 4,500 miles an hour. They've driven all the way up from Covington to make the scene. And people are getting tired. You know, people get tired of a war. And they're now giving away ice cream free, as much as you can carry, in both places. We have got about 4 quarts of banana cherry, which is the world's worst ice cream. They have been digging it out of the cellar, stuff that they made the big experiment with 2 years before and have never been able to get rid of since. And we've got that stuff, and we've got it in the back seat of the car. It's all over our knees. It's on our elbows. The street is littered with papers, and now it's kind of petering out. People are slowly beginning to drift off, one by one. And of course, the Borden guy is still beseeching. The igloo guy is still beseeching. But people have lost interest gradually. It is now about 12:30. There's no more than 1,000 people left. At its peak, it hit about 7 to 10,000, I would say. This is not a fiction. I'm telling you the truth. They had at least 100 police out from all different precincts and from several surrounding towns. The fire department had come out, and you could see the trucks sitting down at the end, and the guys are beginning to hose down the streets, you know. Once in a while, they'd flush an old man out, holding a couple of free popsicle sticks, you know, still wanting to make the scene. He'd go, oh, and he'd go reeling out, drunk to the ears with rum raisin, you know, just staggering around, squishing. It was one of the most significant and wildest nights I had ever seen in my life. But then I'd say about 2 o'clock in the morning, the town was all excited. You know, the whole town. And remember, this is a town of about 150,000 people. The lights are lit that hadn't been lit for years at this hour. People are talking over the old campaigns now. Now they're beginning to exchange wounds. Talks of, well, you remember the time when the guy put up the thing that said 2 for a nickel? Well, I'll tell you, I had just crossed the sewer, you know, in the center of the street, when this little old lady hit me going away. She had 2 pints of ice cream. She had a quart of cherry. She hit me, and I spun. You know, everybody's talking about the scene, and kids are crying. They all got gut aches now, and you know, people are sick all over. You can hear them. You can hear, ooh, you're going all up and down the street. Oh yes, it was terrible. Well, about 24 hours later, the editorials began to appear about irresponsible. You know, the people were out there, and the people were just sitting back on their porches now. About 2 days later, nothing but birds, nothing but the sound of humming insects. And there you could see the big sign on the igloo place, right back to the normal thing. Triple dip ice cream cones, 12 cents. And across the street, double dip ice cream cones, 15 cents. And the rich people are pulling up in front of Borden's, and the poor people are pulling up in front of igloos. And it went on and on and on. And just like today, they're waiting for the big war. They're waiting for it. It's just hanging in the air there. Whatever it is, it's there. The sound of the fireflies. Da, 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 da. Come on, bring it up there, Eddie. Let us engulf the Time Life building with great goodwill. All right, cut it out there. That's enough. Boy. Well, that's the story of the Great Ice Cream War. And, gee, man, I sense the same feeling in the air. I really do. I imagine, I'll tell you, I imagine right now. Of course, that was just before the war. So I would say we're about 2 years away, maybe 3, before whatever it is going to happen actually happens. But you know, there was as it grew up, as the tension grew in the air. It wasn't really tension; it was a peculiar kind of suppressed excitement. As the suppressed excitement grew, the people talked as though it was the other way around. More and more and more people talked about the fact that everything was clearing up. Because, you know, as a guy gets nearer to making the scene, as a guy gets nearer to making the great cop-out, or whatever it is he's going to do, to assure himself that it's okay, he pretends he isn't. Oh, yeah, there's more jazz going on now, more talk, more double talk, more cop-outs per square inch going on at this day and age than I saw since the days of the Great Ice Cream War. I want to tell you one more war that was very similar in content, that happened at the same time. There was the great used car fiasco. Oh, yes. There was a used car fiasco that happened on Stony Island that is very similar. You know, used car dealers sometimes have the same attitude towards one another that ice cream guys do. Well, on Stony Island in Chicago, there are 1,000 used car dealers that stretch as far as the eye can see. Well, one night in the middle of July, just before the war, one used car dealer got the idea what he was going to do was to have a half-price sale on all cars in the lot. Half price. $50 cars, $25. $200 cars, $100. $500 cars, $250. Well, it spread like the bubonic plague. And by nightfall, believe it or not, you could have got yourself a 3-year-old Pontiac or a 5-year-old Plymouth for $1. Guys were coming from all directions. My old man had 4 fistfights over one single Hudson Terraplane. Guys were fighting. Come on, bring it up, Eddie. Come on, bring it up there, man. One after the other. And it's just rolled on and on and on like a great big old fat human bowling ball. Speaking of the human bowling ball, do you have that feeling too? You know, a bowling ball is hard to stop when it gets rolling. When it's on the rack, it's just a big round chunk of cheese. Oh, are you aware that one of the real ingredients in bowling balls is cheese? Yes, sirree. I am not kidding you. I kid you not. The Borden Company, Dad, makes the cheese in which the Brunswick Bulky Colony Company puts its best bowling balls out to pasture. That's the truth. Well, a bowling ball in the rack is one thing. A bowling ball coming down alley 9 with a full head of steam about to make a cherry split is another thing, Dad. And I have a feeling that all of us, this great big bowling ball of mankind, are moving down that alley number 9 now, and we ain't going to stop till we make the world's greatest split. We are going to make the impossible split, Dad, all the way.